Does Runeterra's gameplay confuse you? Do your friends often make fun of you because you're so bad? Then do I have a deck for you. Playing Burn will make you feel like a winner. Welcome to another Legends of Runeterra deck guide. My name is Stout, and today I'm going to show you a budget burn build. This deck is becoming rapidly popular, mainly because of its accessibility, but also because it's just really good right now in the current state of the game. It wins matches quickly. It's got a lot of options to contend with a variety of decks. A few people are saying that this style of deck is overpowered, some saying it even needs an emergency nerf. I don't necessarily believe that, but I've been playing this in ranked and have had solid results, so I figured it would be worth it to share it with you. First things first, the champion that I'm using in this deck is Jinx, specifically because she's got some extra power whenever your hand is empty, which can happen with this deck. There are other options that you could use here: Misfortune, Draven. In fact, you can run this deck without any champions whatsoever and do just fine. So don't feel like you have to include champions in this build, but the rest of these cards, the majority of them are pretty standard. You will need them, but none of them are too expensive to get your hands on. So let's take a skim here. We've got Legion Rearguard, which is just a 1-cost 3/2 that can't block. Then you have Legion Saboteur, who is a 1-cost 2/1 that whenever it attacks, it deals 1 damage to the enemy nexus. Precious Pet, it's able to swing on turn 1. It's got Fearsome, so that eliminates chump blockers that can be thrown in front of it. Imperial Demolitionist is another good one. It's a 2-cost 2/3 that whenever you play it, you can deal 1 damage to an ally to deal 2 damage to the enemy unit. Now, this is one of the bigger units of the deck, one of the more important ones, and that is Crimson Disciple. It's a 2-cost 2/3, and whenever it survives damage, you deal 2 damage to the enemy nexus. Naturally, Demolitionist pairs really well with this, and you've got other ways to trigger it too. We'll get to those in just a second. You got Legion Grenadier. Whenever it dies, it deals 2 damage to the enemy nexus, which is great. That's what you want to do. Another really strong unit is Boom Crew Rookie. It's a 2-cost 1/4, and whenever it attacks, it deals 2 damage to the enemy nexus. And finally, in terms of units, we have the Used Cask Salesman, and whenever he's summoned, he summons 2 caustic casks. Those have ephemeral, which means that whenever the round ends, they are going to be destroyed. And what they do is whenever they pop, they deal 1 damage to both nexuses in the game. That is yours and your enemies. So let's take a look at our spells here. We have Rummage, which is great for discarding cards that you may not need in a specific situation, and draw a few more. We're not running many, just 1 copy here. Mystic Shot is essential. It's a 2-cost to deal 2 damage to anything. That is units and the enemy nexus if you need to, so keep that in mind. Transfusion is another useful spell. It's a 2-cost to deal 1 damage to an ally and give another ally +2/+2 for that round. Pairs really well with Disciple. Noxian Fervor deals 3 damage to an ally unit to deal 3 damage to anything. That includes the enemy nexus. Get excited. To play, you discard 1 card, deal 3 damage to anything. Again, we include the nexus. And then finally, we have Decimate, which deals 4 damage to the enemy nexus. You can probably tell that the goal of this deck is to burn down your enemy nexus as quickly as possible. And you might be surprised at just how effective this deck is at doing that. Let's take a look at the matches. Okay, that's an unusual combo, Tryndamere and Elise. Normally those, at least in my opinion, they seem to work against each other and not towards the same win condition. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about starting hands for this particular deck. You either want to mulligan for Crimson Disciple or Boom, either one of those two. We got Crimson Disciple, which is good. Transfusion is actually pretty good to have along with this. Legionnaire Rearguard is not as great on turn 1 because it can't block, but this is actually an okay hand. We're going to ditch the Revolution, or the Demolitionist, excuse me, in hopes of getting a 3 or a 4. We didn't get it, so that's okay. All right, this is the other one that you want to attempt to pull for. That's Boom Crew Rookie, being a 1/4 for 2 costs. Whenever it attacks, deals 2 damage to the nexus. So we're going to go ahead and play Legionnaire Guard, because that's really all we can do on turn 1, especially when we are on defense. He's going to swing. We can't block, but it's just 1 damage. It's fine. So we will just take that, and then we move on to turn 2. More than likely what we will do here is it either boils down to Boom Crew or Disciple. And I think in this instance I'm going to choose Boom Crew because decks with spiders are going to have a lot of these little ankle biter units. So anything with a decent sized health pool, and 4 isn't bad, especially for 2 cost. We'll be able to trade a little more effectively if I need to. So we will just have to see what comes out. Okay, so Vile Feast to get another Spiderling, which I didn't really expect for this to live all that long anyway. So that is not that big of a deal. So he will block and trade there. He'll probably hang on to his last spider. Now, one thing we're going to have to keep in mind is we're going to have to win this game before Tryndamere comes online, because when Tryndamere comes online, we're going to have a really difficult time keeping up with what that I want to say hero, but that isn't right, champion is capable of doing. Okay, so Elise comes out, and we are on defense. We don't have a ton of reliable options to get rid of Elise at the moment. So since he's only got 1 and probably doesn't have, the possibility of Elixir of Iron, you can't ignore it because it's 1 cost, and this deck dips Fjord, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. We'll play with that possibility in mind. If he swings with Elise, then we will block Elise with the Grenadier, but it appears that he is not going to be attacking. And that tells me right away, even though he's got no extra mana, it tells me that he didn't have any option for that anyway. So that card in itself can be kind of set aside. Oh no, it appears that I am wrong. Okay. He thought about it, but he realized I would have just blocked and called it a day. So the best way to go about this is we'll go ahead and play Disciple. We'll swing with all 3, and then we've got Transfusion on deck if we need it. Because I have to imagine... Okay, that's fine. He's going to be getting more spiders. That's okay, so we'll attack with everything. Have to see how the blocks go. That's expected. Might not even block with the Elise at all. Okay. So the unfortunate part here is he's going to get transformed Elise with Challenger, which means he's going to be able to poke at our... Ooh, that's even worse. That is even worse. Okay, so this deck might outpace us. We're just going to have to see. We'll play another Disciple because we can't really make use of Transfusion in this moment anyway. We'll have to wait until next turn. But this could be bad for us. The spider stuff generally moves a little quicker than we do, and the fact that Elise got to transform, I really wish he would have made that mistake, but he did not. So now that these all have Fearsome, which generally I wouldn't block them anyway, but Elise is probably going to be targeting one of the Disciples. Okay, so Elise is going after Boom Crew Rookie. So one thing we can do here, and it's got tons and tons of mana in play, so we may not get away with this. Okay, that's fine. All right, so we are going to do the Transfusion because that'll deal us a little bit of damage. Might get the trade here. Could have another answer in hand. And does get 2 cards off of it, but that's okay. So the Elise is out of the picture, and we actually do get to keep our Boom Crew, which is fantastic. So because Decimate isn't a factor right now, we're going to front load our board as much as we can because we are going to swing big next turn. And if we can get enough damage to push through, because we could also get some disciple procs out of these spiders, then we can possibly finish with Decimate. We're going to have to see. It's all going to depend on his decision making and whatever else is in his hand. But that's also going to be dependent on whatever is drawn. Okay, so we're going to hang on to, we actually have enough to do all of that, but we're going to hang on to it at the moment because I don't want to give away the fact that we have a somewhat reliable means to deal a decent amount of damage there at the end. So we're going to have to see how this plays out first. Most of these blocks make sense, but again, he's got 5 cards in hand, plenty of mana to work with. Okay, so he's going to let that transpire. Okay, so we'll get down to 3. We should be able to get down to 1, actually. Okay, so we have 2 methods of wrapping this up. So we should be able to clean this up pretty easy. Okay. That is not really going to affect us at this stage, so we will try this first with the Disciple. And if for whatever reason this doesn't play out, we have Decimate, but it does! And so that's the win. Alright, we won before Tryndamere came online, which is fantastic, and getting rid of the Elise really turned the tide of that game for us. Oh, no, I hate playing against Fiora decks. They're awful. Talk about awful, that starting hand. That's not much better. Okay, that's decent. But we need to be... We're gonna have to be faster than that. Did you spit out your passy? You did.
Oh, don't freak out. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Don't freak out and don't pull it out. You crazy? Alright, we attack. We drew into Disciple, which is good, and we've got some ways to trigger it. So, alright, we might be okay. But we do have to keep an eye out for Fiora, and he's no doubtedly sitting on all this extra spell mana to protect it. Okay. So, in this instance, I think Disciple is the way to go. We can't block this anyway. That's a problem. Yeah, we're gonna have to deal with that in some reasonable form. The big issue is we do not have enough damage on this board to contend with that thing in a meaningful way. So it becomes a how do you want to proceed? Because this unit alone is a problem. I can only take... It's going to be a deny. It's going to deny the effect. Oh no, he wants to wrap it up. Yeah, I may not be able to contend with this. I just don't have enough, like... I've got 5 damage, but that's not enough to kill it. Yeah, I gotta take that 7. We're gonna do this. What? Did you spit it out again?
Bless you. Bless you again. Bless you 3 times. You got one more. 4 bless yous. Oh my goodness. Okay, you want to hang on to it for just a couple minutes?
Okay, he played another elusive unit. Don't really have a choice, just kind of gotta go for it and see what happens. Okay, we're 3 damage away. We do not have enough to deal that damage right this minute. So we're going to let the turn roll. He's probably going to attack instantly. If he has a deny, we're in trouble. I mean, we have to try. It's the only way. If he's got a deny, we're done. If he doesn't have a deny, does he have the deny? He had the God Hand. What can you even do about that, dude? There's nothing you could do about that. He had the God Hand. What a hand. Ooh, that was very close, though, for starting out with a really rough starting hand, though. I won't feel bad about that. So that's Burn. I have climbed a lot higher on the rank ladder since I've started using this deck. It's a lot of fun and it's really easy to get access to. So I would really encourage you to check this out if you're just jumping into the game. And speaking of beginnings for Runeterra, is a beginner style video for this game something you'd like to see from me? You can let me know in the comments. A few of you had suggested it, but I really want to see if this is something that I should really devote my time to. And if it is, if that's what you want, I will totally do it. Thank you so much for your time. As always, liking and subscribing to these videos really lets me know the kind of content you want to see from me, and that's the way I want to tailor my channel. I love you guys. Stay safe out there, and I will see you next time.